At least you brought me breakfast.
Oh, this is mine. It's prescription.
A prescription bagel?
Legally, you're actually not allowed to ask me about
Whatever.
it.
Had you worked in video games before this, or did you have experience in the video game industry that you kind of brought into this, or first time?
No, I didn't. But we were so lucky to have Ashley Birch on the show, who has so much experience in that world, and I was very, very selfish and greedy with her knowledge.
Yeah, we have a couple writers on the show that are hardcore gamers. Ashley, obviously. Actually, Megan Gans, who's on the show, her husband Humphrey has a deep, deep knowledge of games, as well as, excuse me, Craig Mazin. Is on our staff who wrote Chernobyl, but he is a hardcore gamer.
It's like you're this brilliant painter, and I'm your favorite brush. I'm just some tool to create your masterpiece.
I like that metaphor, but it's not quite right, is it?
Are you seriously about to noodle on my metaphor right now? It was really fun getting into the specifics of how the industry works, and I play a programmer or a coder in the game, which is something that I knew nothing about, and none of my skills lend themselves to that kind of work. But I met with this amazing programmer who was telling me about how she got into programming, and she talked about how she loved fixing cars when she was a teenager. And she just loved constructing things and fixing problems like that, and coding was basically the same thing, but in this digital way where all you needed was a computer.
Quick thing, I'm worried about the time.
Yeah, David, I'm moving as fast as I can. It's not my fault that these watermelons don't explode like real heads.
Ashley, I know you have a lot of video game experience. Like, how did you serve in the show, kind of connecting everybody to the industry? And, did you have a particular role in that? And what was it like working on it?
It's really nice when you're in a writer's room where you have a thing that you know you can always contribute. And that was me for video games, is that I know I've been in the industry for a really long time. I know games really well. I love games. So getting to bring that perspective is really fun, because as a lifelong gamer, I never would have imagined that this show would be made, or that this person would be in it. It's very surreal.
I'm brand new to this kind of sophisticated game.
Yeah.
I'm from another time. Pinball machines,
How did
Pac-Man, things like that.
How did you tap into, your character is super specific, and I don't know if you drew on, a character that was in your mind, or, an author that you were thinking of, or, how did you approach your role in the show?
It wasn't difficult, because first of all, it's well written. But second of all, I like the guy.
Yeah.
I enjoy his company. And I also liked science fiction a lot. I read a lot of it. That's the kind of character I play as a writer of science fiction.
I have a BA in Women's Studies.
What exactly is women's studies?
It follows the experiences of women and the contributions they've made to...
Inquiry withdrawn.
Ubisoft, which is one of the biggest video game developers in the world, approached us because they were fans of Sunny and they wanted to do something in the industry. And it wasn't something that I knew much about. I know Meg knows very little about, and Charlie didn't know anything about, other than playing games from time to time, but we wouldn't consider ourselves avid gamers. And so when I went up to visit their studio, I got a chance to talk to the people that actually make these games and develop these games. I realized that ultimately we wanted to get the industry right, but it didn't matter that these people made video games in terms of making a TV show. It just mattered that they made something that they really loved. Because ultimately our show really isn't about video games, it's about the people that make them and the interpersonal dynamics of the workplace culture.
Well, it's also like it walks this interesting line, because it's dealing with a world where there's a lot of toxicity and fans. There's toxicity everywhere. Did you approach this like, you worked on Always Sunny for years. Like, how did you dive into a show like this tonally versus like working on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, we obviously wanted it to be really realistic, so we didn't want to shy away from any of the issues, these toxic issues. But also, it's a world where people are really passionate about what they do, and so there's a lot of really good to point out too. So we didn't want to get mired in too much criticism, for instance, but just keep it light and fun, but also realistic. So we wanted to talk about gender disparity, for instance, and crunch and overworking, which I'm sure is something you don't know anything about, crunch. But then again, as Rob said, relate it back to a more universal workplace dynamic. So everyone has worked too hard on something that they really care about. There's gender disparity in nearly every workplace. And so we wanted to make them these relatable themes as well, so that people could see themselves in their own workplaces in it.
Hey, can I get a coffee?
I'm coming on!
Everybody has that game that they fell in love with because they make an impact. Those games were somebody's legacy. Well, this is my legacy.
Our legacy.
Our legacy, whatever.